Industry TV Network. Make sure you hit the like button, share, and subscribe. In this video, we'll be discussing some of the incidents that occurred prior to when Prince left us in such an untimely way. While there are some death announcements that we are kind of prepared to hear, including those of actors and actresses who are among Hollywood's oldest survivors, others seem to come out of left field. That was the case with Prince, the shockingly talented musician who passed away in 2016 at just 57 years old. It wasn't just his age that made his death shocking. He had been performing just days prior, and he had been making plans to play a series of shows on what he had dubbed his piano and a microphone tour. Although he had canceled one show due to what he described as a bout with the flu, there were no outward signs that there was anything amiss with the superstar. It was only after his passing that an investigator put a spotlight on exactly what was going on in his life off stage, and it was a story of old injuries, chronic pain, and the chronic use of painkillers, allegedly. The official cause of Prince's death was an accidental overdose of painkillers, and it ended up being a small but very high-profile chapter in a larger crisis. America's opioid epidemic started with the Sackler family's insistence that opioids, particularly Oxycontin, weren't addictive, and by 2019, opioids had claimed around 500,000 lives. Industry icon Sheila E. knew Prince for a long time. They first played together in the late 1970s. They collaborated on her debut album. They were engaged, and although they split, they remained close friends until his passing. At the time of his passing, they lived just 2 miles apart, and when she sat down for an interview with People the day after he passed away, she confirmed that he had his own private struggles. It's easy to see actors and musicians as somehow superhuman figures that are up on stage and in front of the camera doing things that mere mortals can't comprehend. But Sheila E. stressed that it took a toll on him. He always gave it his all, 150% of the time, she said. Those who saw Prince before and after his final concert on April 14, 2016, said he hadn't been feeling well. Instead of attending the usual after party, he got on his plane and headed home, where, according to heavy redacted documents released by officials in Moline, Illinois, via The Guardian, he suffered an emergency episode that required the administration of 2 doses of Narcan. Narcan may treat the following: opioid-induced respiratory depression, opioid overdose, and is also referred to as naloxone, and is used for the emergency treatment of known or suspected opioid overdose. In 2018, Prince's family sued the hospital where he was treated, claiming via the New York Times that he had been misdiagnosed during the incident that happened just days before he passed. In an adjacent statement, attending Dr. Nicole F. Mancha explained that Prince had refused to undergo the tests that had been recommended and instead left the hospital and was on his way home hours after landing in Illinois. There were only a few other people on the plane with Prince that day, including assistant Kirk Johnson and Prince's protege, Judith Hill. In an interview with the New York Times that ran a few months after he passed away, Hill said that she had never seen anything of the sort happen before, had no warning, and that they had plans for getting home. He wanted to watch Zootopia, He loved those films. I was going to pull it up on my phone, and he said, no, we're going to pick a special time and place to watch that. A few months after Prince's passing, Judith Hill spoke with the New York Times to share what she had seen of his last few weeks and days. Hill, a Grammy-winning artist Prince had taken under his wing and mentored, said that she had reached out to some of those in his inner circle and made it clear that she needed more help than what he was going to have access to at the hospital he had been moved to after overdosing mid-flight. Hill says that although Prince initially tried to downplay the severity of what had happened, those around him convinced him to take it seriously. He was very cooperative that whole night and serious about getting help, she said. She said that they had contacted a California-based addiction specialist named Dr. Howard Kornfeld, and that Prince agreed to undergo a series of tests. She said that he had been brutally honest about his near-death experience, telling her, "I had to fight for my life. I remember hearing your voices from afar and saying to myself, follow the voices, follow the voices. Get back in your body. You gotta do this." She explained, he did it because he was concerned and he wanted to do the right thing for his body. And that's the part that breaks my heart, because he was trying. The investigation into Prince's passing was understandably complex, and in 2017, some of the documents relating to that investigation were made public. That included details regarding the discovery of pills that had been found in bottles scattered throughout Paisley Park, and investigators specified that they were not contained in typical prescription pill bottles, but rather were stored in various other containers, such as vitamin bottles. Things got more confusing when investigators found some prescriptions that had been made out in the name of Kirk Johnson, Prince's longtime aide, and that's when a few different stories came out. In one, Johnson said that he had reached out to Dr. Michael Schluenberg to get prescriptions that would help alleviate some of the chronic hip pain that Prince was suffering from, and later added that when he picked up prescriptions for Prince, but in his own name and Johnson's name, the day before he passed away, it was a first. Schluenberg, meanwhile, said he issued the prescription in Johnson's name for privacy reasons, while his attorney later stated he had never issued a prescription to someone knowing it would be used by Prince. That day, Johnson had picked up prescriptions for clonidine, which is used to treat high blood pressure and ADHD, Valium, and hydrocodone pamoate for anxiety. The documents revealed that prescription pill bottles, including those issued in Johnson's name for ondansetron hydrochloride, which treats anti-nausea, and Percocet, were also found. Johnson ultimately was found not to have procured the drugs that led to Prince's demise. B12 is one of the many vitamins that humans need in order to survive. And interestingly, there are plenty of people who don't get enough of it, particularly vegans and vegetarians. Prince fell into one or both of these categories, and the information out there is conflicting. While there's plenty of sources that say Prince was vegan, there's also a number of stories out there about his absolutely epic cooking skills, particularly scrambled eggs. Regardless of the precise details, it's entirely possible that Prince's largely meat-free diet meant that he was like many others, suffering from a B12 deficiency. But what's also interesting is that a definite diagnosis was unclear, partially because after he passed away, it was revealed that he didn't have a regular doctor. That bit of information was made public with the release of documents pertaining to the investigation that was conducted after he passed, which also revealed the fact that his management team was tasked with arranging pre-performance B12 shots for him in whatever area he happened to have a concert scheduled for. The document said that he used them to feel better. In addition to news regarding Prince's use of prescription painkillers, more information started to emerge about not only the official cause of death, but the circumstances that led to his tragic passing. Prince's autopsy report was released by the Midwest Medical Examiner's Office in June 2016, and the official cause was fentanyl toxicity. The report included the note, "The decedent administered fentanyl." Fentanyl can be deadly when it's present in the blood at levels between 3 and 58 micrograms per liter, and Prince was found to have died with a blood concentration level of 67.8 micrograms. That was explained to be exceptionally high, and it was also reported that when fentanyl and lidocaine was discovered in his home, it was present in pills that had been incorrectly labeled. The pills that actually contained fentanyl were labeled Watson 385. What's that? The legitimate contents of pills labeled as Watson 385 are a combination of hydrocodone, bitartrate, and acetaminophen, which is more popularly known by the brand name Tylenol. Together, it's prescribed as a painkiller, and the investigation was never able to determine where the pills had come from. In 2015, The Guardian spoke with Prince's former sound engineer, Susan Rogers. She told them that she had been responsible for starting the infamous vault of unreleased recordings, nestled safely within the walls of Paisley Park. She started it when she started working for him in 1983, but Prince apparently hadn't had concrete plans for everything in the vault. In fact, former manager Alan Leeds said that one day he would just burn everything. Prince's record company sued Jay-Z's company for copyright infringement, saying it streamed Prince's songs on the Tidal music service without permission after he passed. Prince's MPG Records said in a federal lawsuit filed in Minneapolis federal court that Prince gave permission to Roc Nation to stream songs on Tidal from only one of his albums. But the lawsuit says other songs, including Purple Rain, Little Red Corvette, and 1999, began streaming about 6 weeks after Prince's April passing. MPG Records wanted the streaming halted and sought damages. Roc Nation said in a court filing in a state court that Prince signed off on the streaming arrangement before he passed away. A spokesman for Tidal declined to comment on the lawsuit. Jay-Z relaunched Tidal after buying it in 2015. Jay-Z owns Tidal and not Roc Nation. But I have to say, I have always believed that Prince's passing was very, very suspicious and that people wanted to get a hold of his catalog. It's not like any other artist that passed away with questionable circumstances didn't have an extensive catalog like Prince did, or many others did. Prince has been gone for a long time now, since 2016, but also his music lives on, just like Frankie Beverly's, and it's just that all of the people that we were listening to that gave us great music that cannot be duplicated are now with God. But we just so happen to still have the great music that they left us to continue to enjoy. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Peace and love.